everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Other 99. Thanks to 2 jobs and school, I've been away for a little bit, but I'm back and hopefully we'll be making these vids every other week, maybe every week. Today, however, I want to shake things up a bit and talk about some things on my heart, if you'll indulge me. Monocolored commanders. I'd venture to say that they aren't as popular as multicolored ones, just because they limit your color and your strategy. However, in my own experience, monocolored generals also can be some of the most powerful because of easy mana cost and efficient abilities. Let's get a little bit more specific here. The first deck I featured on the Other 99 was Azusa, a mono-green ramping general. The deck can move insanely quick and become unstoppable after some time. A deck tech we can do in the future is Geth, Lord of the Vault, an insane and very mean black general. White has some awesome options such as 8.5 Tails, Kemba, Yosei, just to name a few. It's kind of understood that blue is arguably the best color. Therefore, it's also a good color to play in Commander, with generals like Teferi or Rain Academy Chancellor. However, the one color that seems to kind of fall short in Commanders is good old red. This is probably because red has always been the color of quick, small, and temporary damage. So life gain and a few counterspells often slow down the decks enough to come back from the initial red onslaught. So what would it take to make a good mono-red EDH deck? Well, let's first take a look at some of our options in generals. We want generals that not only do cool stuff, but do it at a decent mana cost. We also don't want to be too forced into building around a particular general. Akroma Angel of Wrath is a big beating general that doesn't really require us to build around her. This is nice because this allows us to put the other 99 together whichever way we'd like. Fumiko, the Lowblood, is a very aggressive general that forces us to play with a lot of creatures. If your play group doesn't play very much mass removal, this may not be such a bad idea, but building decks around this may be a little bit difficult. Godo Bandit Warlord is a pretty amazing tutor that has very cool synergy with Samurai. Most Samurai in red are not good enough to put into an EDH deck, but the tutoring is definitely a very cool and much needed ability in red. Jaya Ballard is kind of like an early prototype Planeswalker card. Her abilities can be quite versatile, and building around a few of them wouldn't be too hard to do. However, discarding cards can be no fun sometimes, but there are ways we can take advantage of that as well. Kazul is a defensive general that kind of acts as a ghostly prison on a creature. Do we want to be defensive in red? We'll decide that later. Kiki Jiki is super sweet and can make for some pretty insane combos. He's a general that we would and should build around just because the possibilities are numerous. Lu Bu is a pretty awesome general with close to unblockable evasion and haste. Once again, a general that we don't really have to build around, Lu Bu may just be a good bet. Norin the Wary is pretty interesting, but we would need to find a way with just red cards to build around him. That might be a little bit tough. Heartless Hidetsugu does insane amounts of damage. Giving him haste and lifelink seem pretty awesome to me. Definitely a good option. If dragons are your thing, Zerillin of the Claw may be a really good bet. Building around him wouldn't be the easiest thing in the world, but you get to play with cool dragons. How awesome is that? Urabrask is a great option for the aggressive commander player. Commanders with the ability to attack immediately for general damage are always welcome, and his Griefer ability can give you a pretty nice edge. There are several other generals I did not include in the list, but they would require us to rely on them too heavily, are not really fun to play, or are just plain bad. But now let's take a look at what it would take to make this deck good. Every commander deck needs win conditions, whether it be pure creature beatdown, combo, or some sort of control lockdown. Since we are playing red, creature beatdown seems like the most obvious route, but combo may also be a viable option. Red loves to kill lands, so a form of control lockdown could also be used, if your playgroup is cool with land hate. Next, the deck needs answers to other players. Red has multiple cards with which to clear the board in both red and colorless options, such as Devastation or All is Dust. We also need to deal with problematic creatures like Darksteel Colossus, so cards like Chaos Warp become handy. We don't really need it, but some sort of card filtering or card control will also play a factor in the success of the deck. Sensei's Divining Top is the obvious choice, but having tutor cards like Gamble may also be a good include. We need efficient creatures that change the board state when they enter or leave the battlefield. A general like Akroma does that well, but others like Ryusei devastate the board when they leave, or Bogarden Hellkite will shift the game in your favor quickly when it enters the battlefield. I could go on and on about which direction should be taken, but instead I think I should let you, the viewers, decide the direction. Send me a message with your idea for a mono red deck. I'll look through them, find the best one, and feature it and your personal commander deck on a future episode of The Other 99. In the message, let me know what general you chose and why. Let me know every reason you think it's cool. Anything from strategy to the artwork. Explain your card choices. You don't necessarily have to explain the obvious inclusions, but for cards that are synergistic with a general or just plain unusual, tell me a little bit about your thought process. Justify the cards that you have decided not to include. This may not always be necessary, but there are some cards that may seem like knee-jerk includes to some, but just didn't fit with your vision. And finally, tell me anything that is just not obviously there. I want to know what's going on with your genius and creative mono-red build. Submissions should be in before midnight Central Time next week. I'm looking forward to seeing your ideas and creativity. So that's it for this edition of The Other 99. I'm Karsten Perry. Thanks for watching.